Well, we've got a couple of pretty good games coming up for round two of the Rugby Championship. Both are rematches from last week. Both are in the same countries, however, at different venues, which is a slightly different format to the Rugby Championship that we've seen before. And the questions for the New Zealand versus Argentina game are: can Argentina back up what they did last week? And can the All Blacks turn their performance around? Can Australia play better? South Africa has made a lot of changes. Can they keep that consistency going? I'm going to try and answer a couple of those questions as we go. I'm going to give you my thoughts on the upcoming games and try and keep this one really brief. So Australia versus South Africa in Perth. There'll be a lot of South African support there because there's a lot of South African people that live in Perth. And it's a 4:45 a kickoff local time, and that's sort of another evening game. And obviously watching the day game last week was a really good thing. South Africa have made 9 changes to the starting lineup. How good is that? I mean, what a luxury to have. A completely different type 5, and really too many changes to keep up. But Steph du Toit moves back to the flank. Jesse Creel and Cheslin Colby keep their spots in the back line. Otherwise, there's changes everywhere. But if things go wrong, then the experience on the bench is likely to be able to get them out of trouble. You've got Malcolm Marx, Ox Inche, Vincent Koch, and Eben Etzebeth, Quagga Smith, and Andre Pollard. Just the experience and the luxury to have in that squad is unbelievable. We don't have an Aussie team yet, but certainly we can talk a little bit more about the South Africa side. There's been a few comments about South Africa showing a bit of disrespect for making so many changes. Well, I don't buy that at all. I just think every team in the world is jealous at the moment, and they should absolutely own it. They have worked hard to put themselves in such an awesome position with such a great squad. And it's worth noting that the last game against Ireland and South Africa was the most experienced South African team in history, which does suggest that they need to start bringing in new guys through. This is a pretty good opportunity for them to do that. But yeah, look, with all the changes, that might even up the contest a little bit and let Australia back into it. I don't suspect the Australian team could make too many changes that would, get them back in this contest. But, and I think after last week, South Africa did make quite a number of changes there, and they just still played pretty impressively. So I think it's unlikely that Australia will be, it might be a bit closer, but it's very unlikely Australia is going to threaten South Africa for the win here. South Africa pretty strong favourites in the New Zealand bookmakers. I've got Australia at $4.40 and South Africa at $1.18. I am leaning much towards a South African victory here. I think it'll be 13 plus again, although a little bit closer than last week. Let's see if Australia can score some more points and break down that South African defence a little bit more perhaps. So we'll wait and see there. New Zealand versus Argentina, which is probably the more fascinating of the two games. The odds for New Zealand to win and the New Zealand bookies is $1.15, Argentina at $5. I mean, are the odds fair after what Argentina did last week? I guess a lot of it comes down to the All Blacks' history. Losing 2 games in a row doesn't happen very often, and of course it's at Eden Park, which counts for so much. I think they're coming up to 50 games undefeated there. I know that's been talked about a lot, but that's just a daunting prospect, and one where the All Blacks are going to be pretty fired up to not repeat last week. So the All Blacks team, we've got that's been named today. A lot of talk about last week was about the squad, the squad that was named for last week's game being close to sort of the first, the ideal All Blacks team with the current players available. And now look, a few days later, and everyone's calling out for a lot of change. There's been 4 changes to the starting side. Tamaiti Williams comes in for Ethan de Groot. Caleb Clark comes in for Mark Telaire on the left wing, Will Jordan for Sevu Reece on the right wing, and then Rico Ioane comes in for Anton Leonard-Brown at centre. I mean, what does Anton Leonard-Brown have to do? He played awesome last week. I think he was one of the best players in the field. he's gone back to the bench. So I think Anton Leonard-Brown is at a disadvantage because he can cover inside centre and outside centre. I don't know if I would have done that, but anyway, that wasn't the problem last week, let me tell you, in terms of the result. Sam Cane's on the bench, which is massive for the All Blacks. The reserves did not perform very well. If you did watch my previous video, that's where the wheels did fall off. I don't blame all the reserves, but the reality is that last 15 minutes was a horror show. And I'm looking forward to seeing Sam Cane back in the All Blacks after his previous performance in the All Blacks was, he didn't play much. He got red carded in the World Cup final. So look, I like the fact that Scott Robertson hasn't reacted too much, and he is showing loyalty and confidence. And the guys will want another go. They want an opportunity to respond to how they played last week, especially the reserves. So a few of those reserves are backing up this week. Look, I think they've got to persist with D-Mac. He is the best fly half or first five that the All Blacks have available to them at the moment, in my opinion. And he isn't the main reason for the loss, although he did contribute. But yeah, and talking about TJ Perenara, he had an off game, didn't he, last week at Wellington? Maybe the emotion got to him. But he has so much experience. He is the type of guy that can bounce back from a performance like that. His kicking was off. He's going to work on that. And I think just that coordination with players, passing, players knowing what they're doing. Ratama made a difference when he came on. You could just tell the pass was slightly crisper and quicker, and players knew what they were doing. Although, again, the wheels did fall off at the end of that game. For me last week, defence was really quite a big key to that game. We talk about all this other stuff, but the All Blacks scored 30 points. That should be enough against anyone to win a test match, certainly at home. And then when you take a step back, the All Blacks gave 2 tries away, 2 pretty easy tries, and Damian McKenzie was involved with both. Kicking a contestable kick from your own 22 gave a try away. Or a tap back and no one following through. So there was a combination of things, and then the 2 passes back in the second half to lead to a 5-metre scrum to Argentina. Those were the 2 issues. Well, those were 2 big issues. If you took those 2 tries out of the game, it would have been vastly different, am I right? So anyway, the big question for Argentina, can they back it up? They definitely deserve to win. There's absolutely no doubt about that. It was a hugely emotional effort that they played. They played on emotion. This game's at Eden Park, a vastly different story. We have covered off the poor results over the last 6 games, I think it is, that the All Blacks have played in Wellington. But what an opportunity here for Argentina. They've just won against New Zealand in New Zealand. That's the 3rd time I think they've beat the All Blacks. They have an opportunity to go back to back in New Zealand and also at Eden Park and change that 30-year history. What an opportunity for them. But look, I don't know what the team is for Argentina at the time of filming this. I think Julian Montoya is going to captain is going to come in for Augustin Creevy, or Montoya is likely to start. But other than that, I'm not too sure. I personally can't see Argentina winning this one. Not 2 weeks in a row. I think that's just a stretch too far, and I think that the All Blacks won't give them the same opportunities. A couple of those mistakes I've mentioned tonight, the All Blacks are going to work. They'll work on a few things. They'll definitely play with a different mindset, and they'll be more clinical, I believe. And then you've got the Wellington versus Eden Park factor. So look, I just think that it's a bit of a stretch too far for Argentina to back it up. And I also think that the best players to respond to the loss last week are those players, the ones that were involved. So I like that they've been given an opportunity. Scott Robertson has to show some confidence and loyalty there, and I think he will be rewarded for that. My tip here is the All Blacks will win 13 plus. I will be at the game. I'm really looking forward to it. I hope you enjoy the games this weekend. If you to have any thoughts on anything I've said tonight, please let me know. If you've watched this, thank you for doing that, and I'll make a review video once we know what the results are. Thanks.